Hi, everyone. I'm Kat Calvin, CEO of Project ID Action Fund, and I am so incredibly excited to announce our newest endorsed candidate, Elizabeth Guzman. She has already been just so incredibly successful in passing really incredible legislation in Virginia and being a really amazing leader. I've actually admired her for a while. And so to get to actually endorse her is just super thrilling. So, hello, Elizabeth, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right, Kat. Thank you. It's very nice to see you. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, and thank you for all the work you do. So, can you just tell everybody watching who are you and what are you running for and why?
Sure. I am Delegate Elizabeth Guzman. I proudly represent the 31st District in the House of Delegates, which includes Prince William and Fauquier County. Prince William is the only majority minority county in the Commonwealth, and Fauquier County is more red and rural. I was elected in 2017 as the first Latina immigrant ever elected to the Virginia Assembly. And immediately after, I was elected as the chair of the class of 2017, which I like to refer as the most diverse and progressive class of delegates in Virginia's history. and and then it was really hard to be in the minority, but I think many of us run an agenda to provide driver's license and IDs to our undocumented brothers and sisters and children, and we ran on increasing the minimum wage and provided basic days to our constituents. So unfortunately, all of our bills while we were in the minority were killed, on a party line vote. But we used that opportunity, to make Virginians aware of what was going on at the state legislature. So we used all of those efforts to fight for a majority. It was my responsibility to make sure that all of the members of my class returned in 2019, and they did. And then we were able to flip more seats, in the House, and now we have 55 members. We have the first female speaker of the House on our leadership and the first African American women as our majority leader. So I'm currently serving as the Vice Chair of Education and the chair of the subcommittee of social services. And when we said we were in the majority, we said, okay, we have all of these of items and policies and bills that we want to get through. We have a trifecta in Virginia and we will get it done. So little we know that it was not the same feeling in the chamber across the aisle. So down the hall, actually. So what we did is we started many progressive legislation that came out of the House was either killed or watered down in the Senate. So I think during the special election, I think a bill that was very personal to me was basic days and quarantine leave for Virginians. We were in the middle of a pandemic, and I thought that that was extremely important, that there were 1.2 million Virginians out there without any access to paid time off. And the least that we could do is that they didn't have to choose between their health and a paycheck, was to provide the paid sick days, 40 hours of paid sick days, if they will work full time. And if they had to quarantine, we will pay them the time to quarantine at home. So they could just, spend time quarantine and not being able to spread the virus, because that was a pandemic. I think this pandemic shows what public health was about. So my bill was killed and in the Senate. And that day I said, you know what? I'm just tired. There's a disconnect in between the House and the Senate. And I wanted to go to the Senate to be that voice for working families and for those communities that were struggling. And I said, I'm going to run for lieutenant governor because I think it's time to have a woman as your next lieutenant governor. We never had one. I'm proud to be the first Latinx person to run a statewide campaign. And if I were elected, I could become the first woman of color ever to serve on this position as well. And I am running for lieutenant governor because I see that this position is for a proven leader, someone who has been able to build coalitions within the party and in the Virginia Assembly. I've seen, and and I also see this as promotion for an effective legislator, someone who have delivered on the promises that we have made to our constituents. And on my 4 terms in the Virginia Assembly, I have passed 24 pieces of legislation. And they were, including an ID to our brothers and sisters who are undocumented, so they don't have to disclose their immigration status when they go and pick up their children at school, when they go to the library or open a checking account. And I wanted to be that voice for those working families going into the Senate. That is the position that it's available this cycle. So I'm very excited to be working with you to introduce and pass legislation to provide the dignity of an ID to all Virginians, and that Virginians could feel proud to live in a Commonwealth where diversity is embraced and not disrespected, where children, despite not having, legal presence in this Commonwealth, they could feel that they belong here by having a government ID. So that's what I intend to do. And I am running that campaign, and I'm very proud to count with your support, knowing that in this fight, you have people like you and your organization that are willing to take this fight, that are willing to fight unapologetically for things that Virginians care about the most. And I think this is an excellent campaign item. People want, all Virginians to get ability to get an ID, and I'm very excited to be championing that piece of legislation without any struggles. And now it's on the way to the governor's desk for the signature.
Well, and your leadership when it comes to IDs was the reason that we knew we wanted to endorse you and we want to see you in statewide office. Virginia has actually really done a lot of great work around ID legislation over the last few years, and you've been a big part of that. And so it's exciting for us because, we really see Virginia as a place where, that can be an example for the whole country of this is how you give everyone that dignity of an ID. And you see how much everyone having an ID will really lift everyone in the Commonwealth. So I'm thrilled about that. I love Fauquier County. I once went to the cutest little pub in the middle of a field and the woods, and it was a little tiny brewery, the greatest place. And actually, it was in 2017, and some of your staffers were there, and it was just, it is just like this beautiful, like wonderful little county that I just totally love. I think it's great that you have represented a place that is both super populous and diverse, and a place that is, just a lot of grass and trees and a couple of people and just really lovely pastoral land. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so I mean, I really enjoy going to Fauquier County. It's I know there are certain Democrats that have not campaigned in rural areas, but for me, I think that was the reason why I flipped this seat after 26 years. There were a lot of Democrats waiting for me. When I knocked on their door, I remember seeing their faces of hope and happiness that there was a candidate who actually cared about them. And of course it's slower to campaign there, but they, you first earn their support and they become volunteers, and the next thing you know, they are precinct captains. And now actually 2 of my constituents are the co-chairs of the Fauquier Democratic Party. So it's extremely, exciting to be able to have that type of energy within Fauquier County, which I always tell people that nothing happens in Fauquier without approval of the Fauquier residents, because they do know how to organize and stand up, and they may have Republican representation, but I could tell you that nothing happens without the population, getting the buy-in from the population. And that is extremely exciting. And that's what I try to share with people now that I'm campaigning statewide. I tell, these counties that are represented by Republican legislators or county city towns, I say, don't give up. Use your voices, stand up, hold them accountable, because I've seen that happening. And, we might not have the numbers yet, but we are building an organization there because the children are watching. I'm proud to tell you that in the high schools that are in my district, we have Democratic Social Clubs. In a Trump County, red, where these Young people are advocating already for common sense gun reform, increasing the minimum wage. So that's how we're going to build a movement, that it's just not going to be for today, but actually for the near futures. These are the future leaders of this Commonwealth.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think it's safe to assume that everyone who has watched this video is totally in love with you and really wants you to be the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. So, how can people support you and help you get there?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, listen, this is going to be a crowded primary, and for the reasons that I said before, this is going to be a grassroots campaign. This is not going to be about having a millionaire giving us $1 million or having this is about people's movements. We are proud to reach out to different places across the Commonwealth. We have made clear that this campaign is not going to be based in one region, but actually we have made our case that we are going to be reaching out to every zip code in the Commonwealth. And we're proud to announce that we have visited already more than 40 counties and cities across the Commonwealth. So if you want to get involved, we are present everywhere. You can visit my webpage, www.elizabethguzman4virginia.com. And we would love you to join our team. This campaign, we wanted to make history. We have to build something that's never been built before. And this campaign is going to be about engaging young people, engaging seniors, immigrants, people of color, progressives, moderates, so we can work together to protect our trifecta. Because we still have so much to do. We have to recover from this pandemic. We have to achieve racial justice. We have to provide healthcare for all. And then we have to build a Virginia that is great, that is number one for business, but we need to be number one for working families. And I know that we can do it together.